So we'll start with the presentation now and the discussion basically. So before we go ahead into learning what is environmental services, what is ecosystem services, because I find many of the students are from graduation, most of you must have had your fundamentals in economics. So what do you understand by goods in economics? First we'll go ahead as what are goods in economics, what are the different kinds of goods, and what kinds of goods are natural resources. First, we'll understand what is natural resource. Then we'll understand that which category does it come under in the classification of goods. Now, as per the knowledge of everyone, we keep on telling that this is a free good, this is an economic good. But what does that free good and economic good mean? If you talk from the perspective of economics, the basic definition of goods is any item that satisfies human wants and provides utility. It should not only satisfy your want, but it should have a particular utility, right? That means it should have the power to satisfy your wants. Then there are multitude of goods, and I will not go into the different classifications of good because that itself is, I think, 2 or 3 classes. But the first and foremost classification of goods is free goods and economic goods. Now, how do you define whether this is a free good and this is an economic good? One thing we should always remember that as we are going ahead with time, the definition of different terminologies and the concept of economics is also evolving. The concept of goods is also evolving. Free goods basically does not literally mean sun, light, and your water, air, because you see, free good is something that has value in use but does not have value in exchange. All right, like you can get it for free, as the word says. Normally किसी को भी पूछो तो आप ऐसे आसानी से बता सकते हो, we are not going to pay anything for that good, so it's free of cost. That's why it's called a free good. But are we correct when we say that today water is a free good? Are we correct if we say that air is a free good today? Because with the environment evolving, with the interactions going on more and more, the definition and the boundary of free goods is also getting decreased. Okay, because you see, you pay your water tax for it. If you're in Delhi, you have seen the pollution, the level of it, and I had recently been there as well, and I could feel when I was outside. Okay, so nowadays, even in certain places like Delhi, air you also cannot tell is a free good. But yes, if we talk about the traditional definition, then free goods are something which has value in use, but you cannot exchange it for anything else. So it doesn't have value in exchange. But economic goods are those which have both value in use and value in exchange. Now we will be classifying economic goods, and we will be learning that what kind of goods are natural resources. Now, every one of us knows what are natural resources. They are the resources that are drawn from the nature, and we use it especially for commercial, industrial purpose, also for aesthetic value. Now, why I have made and highlighted the entire aesthetic value, scientific interest, and cultural value in red, because many a times we feel that we going and worshipping a tree, or I think we have a festival called Nuakhai in Odisha, where we worship the first crop of rice. All right. We just take it something related to our spirituality, something related to our culture, and something that is out of the perspective of economics. But as I said, with the evolution of economics, now the aesthetic value and the cultural value are even a part of it, and we'll know how it is. So natural resources, they are used for multitude of purposes, and most importantly, they are the substances that occur in nature and are exploited for economic gain. We don't do anything without any of our interest or any of our profit. Or you can say without our benefit, right? Because we human beings are, I think, the most cunning of all creatures on earth. So if we are not getting any economic benefit, then we are not using it. I'll give you some real life examples. You see, for example, all of us know that the skin of Royal Bengal tiger is really, really in demand, and it's rare. But our interest is having something in luxury, which is very rare, and showing everyone that, yes, I possess it, right? So the point is, everything we are obtaining from nature for one or the other interest. It might be our need, it might be our comfort, or it might be our luxury as well. All right. So natural resources are those that give us all types of uses not only commercial and industrial use, but aesthetic use, luxurious uses, scientific interest. We keep on exploiting the nature every time for our research as well. Not only in agriculture, but be it medical, be it chemical sciences, anything. We go and disturb, I think, every element of nature in order to, give ourselves a standard beyond anyone else, and then tell that, okay, we are coming and telling that we have so many things to conserve the natural resources, conserve the biodiversity. The point of telling is that we are the people who are destroying it, and then we are coming up with all the different types of techniques and tools to conserve it, because we very well know that the thing that we are destroying cannot be substituted by anything else. Okay, that's one of the most important constraints why natural resources or natural resource economics is important for every one of us to know. Nowadays, I think in the BSc AG course also, because when I was studying BSc AG, natural resource economics was not included. I suppose now they have included that in course as well in BSc. That is because unless and until you know the economic value of natural resources, unless and until you know the economic value of those so-called free goods of nature that we tell, you will never be sensitized to conserve it, or even come out with any kind of strategy that is any way beneficial or sustainable to the environment. Now, coming back to the classification of goods, or rather, to be more specific, the classification of economic goods. Well, the basic classifications are different. We have capital goods, we have commodity goods, we have personal goods, we have impersonal goods. But we often, while talking in a very common language, we call this is a private good, this is a public good. Now, all of us would have come across a private good and a public good. Okay, but here I would like to ask all of you a question. Can any one of you tell me, here I've already mentioned two words, common goods and club goods, and I've mentioned some other words, rivalry, excludability, and all. Can anyone tell me just what is a common good, what is a club good? If anyone can just make an attempt, a quick attempt on it. You tell me what is a common good, forget about club good. We know what is a private good. This is my phone, it's my property, it's private to me, no one has any right on it. Okay, that's a private good. We are walking on the road, or we are going with our vehicles on the road, and the road can be used by everyone. So that's a public good. But what is a common good, and why is it a common good, and how is it different from public good? Please, I just want to know, why is common goods different from public goods? If anyone would like to make an attempt on it. Anyone, if there's any faculty or PhD scholar or even MSc or BSc students.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, Dipshika.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I think, ma'am, common goods means those goods which are available for the human beings and all other microbes and living organisms in this planet, not for only the human beings.
But road is also available for elephant or giraffe. I mean, elephant and giraffe can also travel on roads, and roads is a public good. Birds can travel in the sky, and sky or your radio waves or whatever is there, air, sunshine, that is available to everyone. That's a public good.
Yes, ma'am, but I think the trees and all which are in the forest.
I think you're not audible properly. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, can I say?
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, I'm Sushmant from Lovely Professional University.
Yes.
And by seeing the examples you have provided with common goods and club goods, I think that common goods are those goods which by direct way or indirect way used by almost every human being, whereas the club goods are used by certain sector of people. Like if you see cable TV or cinemas, they are they're not common for everyone. Like there are certain people who don't view cinemas also, though doesn't watch TVs. So these are club goods, like only for certain sector of people. And so I think.
Okay. Well, good attempt, but unfortunately, this is not correct. I have given two. Okay, I'll explain now because we are short of time. You see, I've given you two different terminologies. This is a Punnett square. I think all of you would have come across Punnett squares in your genetics class when you were in 11th or 12th or even in 10th if you're from ICSE. We have two criteria here. One is rival, one is excludable. Well, actually, the criteria based on which these four kinds of goods are classified is rivalrousness and excludability. All right. For your purpose, like for making it easier, I've given it rival and excludable. Now, when I tell something is rival, that means my using a particular good is going to affect your use. We are rivals. Okay. That means we are competing for the same resource. For example, all of us over here sitting, just imagine that we all are sitting offline in a particular hall. All right. And there's just one pond outside the hall, which is having water in it. All right. And the only source of water for all the 200 students or faculties, whoever present in the hall, is the pond. Now, if 10 of the faculties go there and fill 10 bottles each, so for example, 100 bottles of water by only those 10 faculties, do you think that the availability of water to the other participants will decrease, increase, or remain constant? It will decrease definitely, right? So the availability, if rivalrousness means if we use a good, then its availability for others is going to decrease. The first criteria. Second is excludability. From the word exclude, the word excludability has come. That means you can exclude others from using that particular good. Okay. The best example is the first one is private goods. To understand this concept, as I told you, this is my phone. Now, this is only one phone. If my friend comes and takes away this phone from me, then obviously I will not be left with any phone to use. Now, people will tell that you can buy another phone. That's fine. I can buy. But at this frame of time, if my friend comes and takes away this phone from me, then I will not have a phone to use. That means the availability of this telephone or this mobile phone has decreased to me, but has increased to someone else. Now, excludability is if my friend comes and wants to take this phone from me, he or she cannot take it without my permission. That means I have the right to prevent the use of this cell phone by my friend or my colleague or whatever he or she is. So that is private good. That means both it will have excludability and rivalrousness. All right. All of our personal goods and whatever we possess, clothes, food, flower. I mean, flowers is written here because if you, for example, have a kitchen garden or something, don't be confused with that. If you have a kitchen garden or you have a small garden on your terrace and some flowers are there, you can definitely prevent your neighbor from taking. If you see them once taking flowers from there, you can tell them, no, you stop. You cannot take this. Okay, you have the right on that. So that's a private good. But if they take it, the availability of flowers for you will decrease. Maybe kal subah puja ke liye aapke ghar mein flowers nahi hoga. Right? Understood? The exactly opposite one is public goods. That is non-rival and non-excludable. Why non-excludable? Because as it says, it's a public good. It's for everyone. Now, I cannot tell that I'm going to walk on this road, so you will not walk on the same road. I cannot tell that to you. Clear? Everyone will walk on that road. Everyone will drive a vehicle on that road. I cannot literally tell, मैं जाके बोलूं तो पता नहीं मुझे ही लोग मार के भगा दे, है ना? And most importantly, non-rival is अगर 10 लोग रोड पे चलते भी हैं तो हमारे बाद और 100 लोग चल भी पाएंगे उसी सेम रोड पर. It's not going to decrease the availability of road to someone else. So that's why it's both non-rival and non-excludable. Private goods and public goods are completely opposite. Now, those are pretty clear. कि हाँ गवर्नमेंटल गुड्स जो होते हैं या जो भी कम्युनिटी गुड्स होते हैं वो सब पब्लिक गुड्स होते ही हैं, चलो ठीक है. But the problem comes when the other two types of goods come. Club goods is to a certain extent a very safe kind of good. As Sushmant told that not everyone can afford, that's fine, that's one criteria. but what is the characteristic of the club good? Now you can exclude it. For example, let's take the use of this cell phone. I'm not talking about the cell phone as a whole, but the use. If I want, मैं यहाँ पे अभी download करके Disney Plus Hotstar I can see. Okay, but if I want, I can allow 5 of my friends to see Disney Plus Hotstar with me on this cell phone. अगर मेरे दोस्त मेरे साथ मेरे सेल फोन में ये डिज्नी प्लस हॉटस्टार देखने लगे, कोई भी पठान मूवी देखने लगे मेरे फोन में, ठीक है, the availability of Pathan movie is not going to decrease for me. It's not that I'll get only the trailer of Pathan, someone will get the climax of Pathan and other people will get the plot of Pathan. ऐसा नहीं है. Five of us can look at the screen and enjoy the movie equally. That is why it is non-rival. Please understand. So someone else seeing a cable TV or your cell phone events or whatever जो भी आप देख रहे हो for the entertainment purpose, अगर 5 लोग भी देखते हैं, the availability is not going to decrease for you. But after all, it's your phone. After all, it's your TV. You can or cannot allow. It is up to you. If you want, you can prevent your neighbors or your friends from using your TV or sitting and looking at it with you. All right. So you can exclude them from using it. But even if you allow them to use it, it's not going to harm your level of availability or consumption. I suppose this is clear. Sushmat, is it clear? As of now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But अभी तक तो चीजें फिर भी ठीक थी. Now coming to common goods. Now you see the arrangement of the Punnett square. Private goods, public goods, they are completely opposite. Similarly, common goods and club goods, diagonally placed, they are completely opposite. Okay. Now common goods में problem हो जाते हैं. We have talked about natural resources previously. अब common goods are also known as common pool resources or common property resources, CPR basically. Whenever you come across the terminology CPR, it's common property resources. And now we use this terminology very often. Okay. Now, what is the problem with this is that they are rival. जो मैंने कहा था कि हम लोग सब एक ही जगह पे बैठे हुए हैं. We all are sitting in a same place. And the only source of water is the pond. The best example for this is village pond only. Okay? That pond is a common resource. Why is it called common property resource or common good? Because it's a common resource for a group of people living in a particular area or whoever is authorized for that. Okay? It's a common resource. That pond is for all. Yeah. Yes, please. Okay. So that pond is for everyone, right? So no one can exclude me. Now they are non-excludable. That means I cannot tell my neighbor or I cannot tell the person sitting near me that do not go and drink water from that pool. If he is thirsty or she is thirsty, he or she will go and take water. And I cannot stop him from consuming that amount of water. Right? Another good example is fishing. Fisheries is written here. The best example is you have a village party. Okay? Like a group of people, they are having a village party. Now that pond is having fish in it. Fish is a common resource for all the villagers. Whoever comes, they can take it. All right. But what happened? Like, for example, today morning, you are going for picnic. You think that, okay, I'll take some fresh fish from my village pond. And you go and you fish all the, available fish in that pond. And ultimately, the pond is left with no fish for the next couple of days for the rest of the villagers. Okay, there no one can complain. This is one situation. Another situation being that there is a tube well in the village or there is a certain source of water in the village. Subah se kisi particular time tak they give water. Imagine that your house is towards the end of the village and someone is living completely near the water tank or source of water. So those people living near will come and take more water, as much as water they want. So by the time the last person comes, the availability of water for that person will decrease. Now, even if the person complains कि fish nahi hai, water nahi hai, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai, no one is going to listen because that's a common good. Okay. But again, the free riding problem is also there because I am not going to think that me consuming more of this resource is going to decrease the availability for others. Okay, that's the most important point, and this is what we are going to focus. All your natural resources, all the environmental services, everything come under this category of goods that is called common property resources. Is it clear? That's why, I've been explaining all these things, and this is the reason we have problem. You see, this free riding problem is both for common goods and public goods. Why? Because you see, there's a village tap. If you're thirsty, you'll go and drink water. You'll stop your car, you'll tell that this is a common property, I'll take water from that. But tomorrow you'll be passing through the same road and you'll see the tap open. You're not going to close that tap because you will say that that's a common property. Now it is not my responsibility to close the tap. Okay, now this might be sounding very theoretical, but this is the practical problem. It is a very scientific term, which is, free riding. That means we love to use something for free, but when it comes to take the responsibility for it, no one takes. And that is why we are questioning the sustainability of resources today. We are questioning the sustainability of different services from the environment today, because we've been using this for years together, but when it comes to conserving it, no one knows whose responsibility is it. Even we are not sensitive towards others' consumption patterns or towards the availability of those resources to others. So I think here we have framed the problem, or we have identified the problem, that yes, these are rival in nature. This is what we need to understand. Natural resources or environmental resources are rival in nature. If you cut down trees, if you take a good amount of wood, the availability of trees or fruits or even oxygen to others is going to decrease. All right, and that is the pivotal problem of the entire universe right now. Now, coming to the different types of natural resources, now all of you know that. I will not take a lot of time here. Ecosystem definition already we have discussed. Well, all of you were correct that environment refers to your entire surrounding. Okay, whatever you have. My environment is, I may be having a curtain behind me. I have a fan on top of my head. Whatever is there in the room, that is my environment. But my ecosystem is what all processes are taking place. How am I interacting? I'm breathing in oxygen, I'm breathing out carbon dioxide. There are so many microorganisms in the environment who are working together. I cannot see them, but they are interacting. Even, my nostrils are filtering them in and filtering them out. And the entire process, the entire interaction, including the interaction with humans. Please don't ever neglect the human interaction, because whenever we are talking about ecosystem, and particularly when we are linking economics with it, human beings have to be the center of everything. All right, because we are the one who are incentivizing it, we are the one who are giving it an economic value, and we are the beneficiaries of it as well. Okay, so environment refers to all the surrounding, but ecosystem refers to the interaction between your surrounding and all the living beings, and even among them. Okay, not only the surrounding, but even the interaction among them. Okay, coming to the ecosystem services or environmental services or nature services, different names are there. Most common name is ecosystem services, but they are often referred to as environmental services or even nature services. As it's already told and understood that they are the varied benefits that we humans derive from the environment. Okay. Now, please make sure to get yourselves clarified that these benefits are only for human beings. Now, when I show you the classification, I'll tell you why am I telling that benefits are for human beings. Okay. Ecosystem services, jab hum log bolte hain, we are actually considering the services given by each component of the ecosystem or the environment, including the plants and animals and microorganisms. Okay, so of course, microorganisms and others, they are also getting benefit. But when we are coming to the economic aspect of it, it is very clearly defined in all the literatures and various research papers, and even from the topmost scientists of the world, that the benefits that human beings derive from nature or the ecosystem are defined as ecosystem services. Okay. Now there's another term as well. Now people can question that, ma'am, is there only service? No, there's also disservice. Okay. We are going to focus on the services because our prime facie goal is to conserve the services. Now, there are disservices, but again, they are because of our own negligence. Okay, like for example, soil erosion. That is a process that's happening in the environment, but that's a disservice to us, because if soil erosion happens, then we are going to get a negative impact on it. We are going to be negatively impacted by it, right? Crop production nahi hoga, and the different microorganisms are also going to be depleted. There are so many things associated with soil erosion. Then also the carbon emission, ozone layer depletion, they all come under disservices. But we will be concentrating on the services in this lecture only. So these are the benefits that we humans derive from the environment. Okay, our ecosystem. Now, as you know, there are varied ecosystems. Okay, basically 4 different types. One is your water, forest, agro ecosystem, and your grassland and wetland ecosystem. All right, there are different types of ecosystem. You can classify a small ecosystem as well, or a larger part of ecosystem. But one thing here we must remember is, out of all the ecosystems, the most complex is agroecosystem, because that is interdependent on your forest and your grassland and aquatic ecosystems, water ecosystem and everything. That is an interactive ecosystem, and even it's human driven. That's why. But the multitude of services that we get from every environment has been only limited to the concept of getting some product directly into hand, because mujhe lagta hai from the beginning someone has already told that services that we get, for example, food, flour, this, that. But is it all? Now I have already given you, there are 4 different types of ecosystem services. These are the broad classifications: provisioning service, regulatory service, cultural service. Now I told you from the beginning, natural resources are used for cultural value. So cultural service and supporting service. Okay. So please tell me now, all the students, and I would tell the senior students rather to interact, that what could be the services that we get from the environment. I understand that rice, water, different types of food, whatever is there, that is a service that we are getting from environment. Fruit, flowers, okay, fine. But what are the other services that we get from the environment? Anyone? Okay, there's another open question if someone is confused on this. For example, you're not feeling well. Okay, there's some kind of thing that's troubling you and you're not feeling well, and your doctor advises you to go to a place that is surrounded by nature and spend some time there. Or doctor advises you to do gardening. Can you tell what kind of service it is and whether it's a service or not? Anyone? You going to visit a place that's surrounded by nature, or you doing gardening, whether it's a service or not, whether you're getting benefited or not, and if so, then which kind of service out of the 4 that is listed on the screen? Anyone? I think there are people who are writing on the chat box. We are muted. Okay, no problem. I'll just see the chat box. Natural service. Wait. Okay, someone, Ayush Roy has written aesthetic service. Okay, you're right, aesthetic service, but it's going to come under cultural service. Okay, so, well, we are having a little bit of time more only. It's not supportive. It's not supportive. I think I'm really happy that all of you are writing on the chat box. I can see all your responses. It's not supporting service. No. Aesthetic services come under cultural service. You getting happiness from something is aesthetic service. You getting healed from something mentally is your aesthetic service. We going to ecotourism or something like that to refresh our mind is coming under cultural service. The best example to compare the economic value is, you're not feeling good, you go to the parlor and you get a head massage and you feel good. That's a service for which you are paying. That is the head massage that you're getting and you're paying for it. But you going to a place which is full of greenery and which is full of nature and birds and everything, and feeling happy and satisfied, you're not paying anything to the nature for that. Now that is whose responsibility? That's a big question, $1 million question that no one has yet answered. Okay, so basically 4 different types of categories now I will tell you is provisioning service, that we all know, that is food, water, wood, fuel, that you get direct benefit. You have a market for it. Now we are coming to the economics part, so all of you have to be very, very attentive on it. We have a market for it. You know that you're going to get rice for a certain amount per quintal or per kg or whatever. You know you can buy a liter of water for 10 or 20 rupees. You know that you can buy wood, you can buy petrol, fuel, right? But the other 3 kinds of services are hidden services, and they do not yet have a market value. But they do give us services for which we are actually paying in some way or the other. मतलब कहीं और से अगर लाना हो, for example, oxygen. Imagine that the regulation of the climate will not be done by the environment. Okay, the best example is your stubble burning in Punjab, which is affecting the air of Delhi. What all measures are being taken? Okay, I'll come back to this example at the end, because this is the right example for all of you to know how you can frame the economic value of environmental services. But you see, if the climate stops working, then all of you will be, I think there are many memes and so many trolls going on that, there is a certain little boy with an oxygen mask trying to plant a tree. But is that oxygen mask coming for free? No, you're going to pay for it. You're having air purifiers for your babies. You're having air purifiers to purify your home all around, and you're paying a cost for it. So if we were to pay to the environment for so many years that we have lived, for every second of or every drop of oxygen that we breathe, what would be the amount? Now, that's why it's important for us to know the economic value, because we have been talking about sustainability. We have been talking about conserving the environment since such a long time. But unless and until we humans know something in its economic term, and if we don't know that how much of economic loss we are going to face if we don't conserve the current environment, then I don't think any kind of sustainability program is going to be implemented successfully, because we see everything in terms of economic benefits. Okay, so provisioning service there, your regulatory service is your all types of regulation going on. Cultural service is everything: spirituality, aesthetic value, educational value, recreational value. And supporting is whatever is needed to support all these 3. Like for food production, what do you need? You need soil, you need nutrients. So whatever is needed to support these 3 services is your supporting service. Now, I've already told you that why value these economically. These are some of the list of environmental issues. We already know, climate change is going on, conservation problem, intensive farming. In agriculture, of course, the most important problem is intensive farming, land degradation, soil erosion and all. So many problems are there. But the problem of these natural resources or environmental services is that, first of all, we have a lot of equity issues. We don't have property rights. All right. As I told you, that we do not know who should use how much of the good in order to make it sustainable for future generations. Even we are not thinking about the intergenerational equity as well. That is the biggest question of sustainability now. And the key parameters or indicators to identify this issue is, low welfare, of course. Now that's the biggest problem everywhere. Then unfair access to your public infrastructure, natural resources being exploited at a very rampant rate, and negative externalities. Now, most important thing is another terminology came here: externalities. Externalities means 2 people interacting together, but their effect is going to someone who's not involved in that interaction. The best example is, I am doing my farming, or I am doing some kind of activity in my house, and someone else is doing it for me, the contractor or whatever. But my neighbor is getting affected with all the noise, with all the pollution and everything possible, even though the person is not involved in that activity. All right, that is. And another example is your mining. You mine a particular place, but everyone else in that area who are actually not interested in that mining are getting affected. Okay, So that is why it's very important to know the economic value of that place, not only how much it is going to give you provisionally, like the direct market value, but you have to make a complete spreadsheet of कितना regulatory service है, इस जगह पे अगर ये trees नहीं होंगे, how much amount of or value in economic terms, how much loss we are going to face in terms of oxygen, in terms of climate regulation, in terms of soil. And I don't think we have any resources of any billionaire on earth to compensate that loss at all. Okay, these are from some of the equity issues as well. And here I would like to say just a little bit of more time. I think 5-10 minutes we should complete. Another important problem comes that we are always talking about income and employment and so many things, right? We are talking how to double farmers' income. The problem now is that the people are more, job is less. And of course, in agriculture, the problem is, disguised unemployment, that a lot of people are working on the same land, but the productivity is not increasing or, getting benefited in any way. So what people are doing, or the government is doing, is actually they are shifting the people from primary sector to service sector. So the people remaining in primary sector is less now. And then the income remains constant, and they'll show that the number of people working pehle were getting this much, because 10 people working and getting 100 rupees, that means 10 rupees each. Now they'll show that only 5 people are working and they are getting 20 rupees each. But actually you are not doubling their income. You are simply shifting the people from their sector to another sector. So here comes the major benefit of valuing the environmental resources, is that why not pay the farmers or the rural people for conserving the environment? Now, when you calculate the economic value of all these environmental services, then you can see the multitude of benefits in economic terms, how much you are getting benefited from the environment. And then you can have the program for payments for ecosystem services. But you are going to pay who? And who is going to pay who? The beneficiaries, that means the people who are living in the urban area, or even the government, people who are framing the policies, they will pay the conservators of nature. Because knowingly or unknowingly, the villagers or the farmers, they are conserving the nature, which is giving us multitude of benefits, in fact services that we cannot imagine to purchase in the future. Okay. And finally, as I told you, why valuation is important, it's basically assigning monetary values to ecosystem and its goods and services. And what types of values can be there? One is use value and non-use value. So many things are there. Use value, of course, you are using, that's very common, that we are using this resource, that's why we pay it. Okay, that may be direct or indirect. Best example is, I want to go and visit Chilika. Today I may be going. So obviously I have used that place for my recreational purpose, so I have a duty to pay it. The next example is, I might not be visiting it today, but I might have a plan to visit it with my kids and spouse and someone else in the future after 10 years. Now, if the thing will not be there only, if Chilika is not going to be there, then how am I going to visit it in future? So to save it now, for using it in the future, I will be giving it some compensation. Then is option value. Now there is an option with me, whether I want to visit Sundarbans or not. I might go there or not. But with the probability that I'm going to go there and see it at some frame of time, I will be assigning it an option value. I have an option whether I want to go or I don't want to go. Okay. And indirect use is what? I might not be directly benefited from that Sundarbans or Chilika, but because of that entire ecosystem, I'm getting so much of oxygen, so much of benefit from the ecosystem, that I will definitely want that ecosystem to be conserved. So I pay for it. Non-use values are passive values, existence values. For example, I might not be going to some hill, but it's just there. And since it's there, I don't want it to be depleted. Like, why unnecessarily you go and kill something or just destroy something just because you are not using it? That is existence value. For that, I need to pay. Similarly, bequest value. Bequest value is the best example being the tigers. Tigers are on the verge of extinction. and I want my future generations to see it. If I want my future generation to see, then me and my generation people have to pay for it. Okay. Now, some of the major factors that complicate the ecosystem management decisions is, most of them are public goods. So no one knows that who has to take the responsibility. They're affected by externalities. That's why often decisions are difficult, because I am enjoying the benefit. Others are getting affected with it. So I might not be willing because I'm enjoying the benefit. Why will I pay for it? Property rights. Now it's very difficult. I said that there should be payments for ecosystem services. But who should pay whom? Designating the property that itne property ko conserve karne ke liye isko milega, utne property ko conserve karne ke liye usko milega. Who is going to do that boundary? That's $1 million question again. And then, of course, lack of markets for most ecosystem services. We have markets for provisioning services, not all as well. Okay, we don't have markets for the byproducts. मतलब straw के लिए भी, rice straw के लिए आज भी एक बहुत अच्छा market नहीं है. Okay, so we have very less market for that to one category of ecosystem services, that is provisioning services. Then there are many methods. I will not be going into the ecosystem service valuation methods here, but just to know it, one is market-based techniques, that you go to the market and this is best for provisioning services. Ki 3 quintal ke liye itna hai, so you just take out the value of the provisioning service like that. Revealed preference technique. There's a difference between revealed preference and stated preference. Revealed preference is something that I automatically reveal my choice to others. That means I already have a choice there. Okay, that means to prevent a damage, I should pay this much. I'm ready for it. Travel cost method and hedonic pricing is one of the very common methods used in revealed preference. Travel cost method is mostly used for cultural services. That means I want to go to Sundarbans to visit the place for my recreational activity. So what is the value of Sundarbans? How much flight ticket I'm paying? How much taxi ticket I'm paying? How much am I paying to stay in a cottage inside Sundarbans? What am I eating there? All these things taken together, entire travel cost, at a particular frame of time, then combined with all the other tourist travel cost, that is the value for 1 year of Sundarbans. Just imagine. And even if there is a ticket value to, have an entry inside Sundarbans, then even that's there. Hedonic pricing is something that, you pay a premium. That's a basically comparison method, that no one will want to have a house nearby railway station, and or someone will prefer to have a house nearby railway station and a market and all those things, and someone will prefer to have a house 20 minutes away from it, and there will be difference in the price of the two properties. So the premium price paid for the land is the actual value of the land that you want to purchase. Okay, that is the value of the ecosystem there. Stated preference method is you know nothing about it. Now we follow these methods. For example, I have introduced you to so many services. Tomorrow I tell you that, okay, you have nothing to do with Royal Bengal tiger. You are also not using its skin or paws or anything, but you want to save it. I come and question you, how much do you want to pay for it? Now you are going to state your preference on that. You don't have any preference, that you are already revealing it. Now it can be open-ended, that I just randomly go ask everyone the willingness to pay. Okay, somebody might tell 10. I, being an environmentalist, might tell 10 crores. But that is very vague. What else can be done is single bond or double bond method, where we determine a particular value or a set of values, 1, 2, 3, 4, we do bids, and then go on with a payment card asking everyone, are you willing to pay this much to save the environment or to save the tiger? And then we take the average of it. So that's a very complicated method, and one of the most commonly accepted and easier method is benefit transfer method, that some kind of study is already done in the past or in some other area. For example, in Western countries now, this is a very common thing. Ecosystem services has been a concept of last 2 or 3 decades. So maybe someone has done in US or UK, and I am replicating the study in my area, and I'm adjusting the values based on certain parameters. That is benefit transfer. I'm transferring the benefit found out in some other area to my area. Okay. So finally, the most important benefits of valuing is payments for ecosystem services, that you get livelihood security, sustainable development, and resource conservation. So I think it's a very long topic. There are much more to say and much more to deliberate on this, but we are having less time. So I think I'll finish on this. And if anyone has any questions, we can go ahead.